I'm sorry, you guys. I'm all over the place with this. So anyway, let's backtrack again. So after I had, basically, or before I had even canceled and told them that I wasn't going to be able to make it to their little morning meeting, which, by the way, they didn't even make it clear if I would be paid for this or not. Um, I was looking over the information that they gave me, and I was supposed to have prepared, a rough draft for what I planned to do with my students for that month. And they were super, super proud of their little curriculum that was formulated by this teacher. And so as I was looking over it, I was like, wait, hold on. These kids are in kindergarten. Why do they have chemistry? Why are they learning these? They had weird, vocabulary words they had for the month. And it didn't really stay on topic. They would go from doing one thing to doing something totally different, the following month. And a lot of the stuff was too hard. So for example, for their history class, which kindergarten doesn't normally take history, they were learning about, stuff from different countries. So they would, learn about, their flag and their capital and city. And it sounds fun and interesting and nice, but guys, 5 years old, I didn't start with states and capitals until I was in 2nd grade. And I went to kind of an advanced uppity homeschool that wasn't done by my parents. So I don't know what public school was like in America for that age, but that definitely was not 5-year-old work, 4 to 5-year-old, I should say. So I was literally thinking what? How are they doing this? So no matter how I tried to write it, it just wasn't making sense. How can I honestly teach this to these kids? Now I know I'll get paid no matter what I do. Nobody's going to really be watching me, but because I care about my students and I care about my job and I want to do the right thing, I knew I cannot walk into that classroom and knowingly lecture 4-year-olds about chemistry because they can't understand it. So of course, once we do the projects and fun stuff, they can do whatever I, show them how to do, but they're not really grasping what they're learning in class. Why are they learning about sentence structure at 5 years old? They were learning, how to use words that we don't even really use. I talk weird, so I do use stuff like shall and thou and stuff like that, but normal people do not use these words, and this is useless information for a 5-year-old. So since we were being asked to basically, even though my back was in pain and they didn't believe me, I literally had so much trouble walking, you guys, without exaggeration. It took me 5 minutes to get up out of bed and to go to the bathroom. And in Japan, your bathroom is normally a step up above the floor, and at this place it was a huge step up, so it would hurt so bad. It hurt to sit down, it hurt to stand up, it hurt to lay down. It literally had me in tears at times, you guys. And I could literally just be walking and randomly my leg would just stiffen up in the middle of the road. That happened several times. And it's really scary because I look young. Nobody expects me to be a slow walker or to stop suddenly. So it just looks like I'm being a jerk and people don't realize, hey, there's something wrong with you. So I was always afraid of getting trampled over or, missing my stop on the train. So I would always stand, even although I wanted to sit. I was afraid that it would take me too long to stand up and it would be embarrassing if I stumbled. I would just rather hold on to the rail and, deal with it and, toughen, muscle through it, whatever, with the pain that was going on while I was standing on the train. So I went through this for about 6 months, you guys. It actually just went away in December, which is sad. But anyway, back to the job. So since he was asking me if I could still send in my, work that I did to email it to them, I explained to him, I was like, I really don't understand how I'm supposed to, make a curriculum off of this. This work is too hard for, 4 and 5-year-olds. They're not going to be able to understand it. And so I told him that, I had questions about it. And so I said it really nicely. And the guy snapped, you guys. It was so weird. He got super angry at me. And so he tried to do the business professional, I hate you bitch type thing. And so what he says to me in his next email, he quickly responds, you guys. He's like, well, we're not asking you, to basically reinvent the wheel. We're not asking you to make the curriculum. We're asking you, to basically just provide materials that have to do with this. He said it totally different, but he was basically telling me that, he said this though, he said, we're not asking you to, but I forgot the words to followed it. He was basically telling me, look, this ain't your job to do that. I'm gonna try to insert these emails here, see if I can do that so I can show you guys. So that was the other dumb part. He didn't say this to me over the phone. It's like, dude, I have proof of what you said. And this is dumb on me too. So like after, he sent that. So after he had sent that, I had, I explained to him, I was like, well, I didn't say that I was trying to, redo the curriculum per se. I'm actually just trying to find an example. Like, what are you guys doing with them? And I was trying to nicely, basically suggest something. And they went over this. It was really funny, you guys, because inside their little like school rules and contract, they specifically state, I think it was like the first rule, you guys. That they want you to share your ideas, and if you see room for improvement, let the school know, and to not keep your ideas and secrets to yourself. And so I'm thinking like, okay, I see that there's room for improvement, that this curriculum is not appropriate for their age, and I'm trying to help you guys out. I'm not asking for more money. I'm not after your position. Well, he definitely took it that way. So to avoid getting into it with them, I asked him, like, can you give me someone else's contact information? And I shouldn't have done this. I knew this was going to make him mad. But I needed it because I wanted to get this straightened out. And so I asked him, like, well, can I talk to, the principal then in regards to this? Because I didn't have anybody's email but his. They didn't give me anyone else's contact information. And so he sent me an email back later, literally like moments later, you guys, maybe 15 minutes later. And this is during the meeting that they were supposed to be having at the school. He tells me that the school unanimously decided that I was unfit for the position and that they decided that they didn't want to hire me and that, basically they're letting me go. And so this honestly made me so angry, you guys, because I didn't go to my Saturday interview that I had backed up because I thought that I already got this job. They gave me the contract. They, told me what my salary was going to be, which wasn't much, might I add. And so, yeah, like it was just really, a messy situation to be in. So it made me super, super angry. And I'm like, wait, hold on. You're firing me because I tried to tell you that this curriculum doesn't make sense for 5-year-olds. I didn't even say that, you guys. I just said that it, seems really hard for somebody that age. And I pretty much asked, what have the other teachers done? Like, I don't really understand, how to make a curriculum that's suitable for a 5-year-old. With the stuff, and it wasn't just the chemistry one, but that stood out the most. The chemistry, the history, their spelling, their little English class within the English school. It's like they're 5 years old. We don't even do this as native speakers. So I went off, you guys. After he told me I was fired, we literally went back and forth exchanging emails in which, he was basically telling me, that he basically accused me of lying. He didn't believe that my back situation really happened, which I do understand. It sounded like a crap excuse and that I just decided not to go, or that something else came up in my personal life. And he got mad at me and basically accused me of trying to be a know-it-all. And so I explained to him, I was like, you need to learn how to take advice from people that know more than you do. I have an education in education. I, went to school to learn English. I am a native speaker. I am American, all unlike you. And so I just went off and told him everything. And so I told him, I was like, I'm not trying to come at you or your position. I'm simply explaining that I don't understand how to make this curriculum. And you're taking it personal because you're the one who wrote it. But this isn't about you. It's about the students. There's always room for improvement. People make mistakes. So it did not sit well. And so after, going back and forth for about a day, we finally, decided to stop talking to each other. I apologized to him for being rude because what I said did come off as being racist. I won't lie to you guys. That was really wrong of me. I should have left his country of origin out of it. Me calling him a non-native speaker, whatever. And it was just bad, really messy. Not professional at all on my behalf. And if you happen to watch this, guy whose name I won't say, I'm very sorry, and I already told you this via email. That was very wrong and ignorant of me. I shouldn't have said that. Wasn't professional, wasn't nice. It was ugly and unnecessary. Regardless of what he said to me, I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, so later on, about a week, I want to say 2 weeks later, the school gets back in contact with me. So apparently they either got really desperate and were looking for a teacher still, or they really just liked me so much that even weeks later, they got back to me and they were like, hey, we don't believe, I almost said his name, this teacher. We want to hear your side of the story. We noticed that the information he presented to us was missing messages. He didn't show us all the emails that you guys exchanged. And so I was like, oh, well, isn't that something? So basically, this guy fired me on his own without going through the school, which is what I told him. I was like, how can you fire me? And I highly doubt that the whole school, was able to see what we were talking about within a few minutes, and that they would agree that me telling them that the curriculum, is a bit challenging for a 5-year-old would be grounds for getting rid of a teacher on. So, anyway, long story short on that, let's end that part. They invited me to come back in, but they basically told me that, in order for them to hire me, that I was going to have to apologize to this teacher in person, despite having done it by email. So they asked to see my device and to show, all the emails that we, sent to each other, exchanged back and forth. And so I showed them the emails, and they were like, oh, now everything makes sense. So apparently, I stupidly shouldn't have sent these. He only showed them the emails after he had already fired me, in which he basically was showing how rude I was being to him as for why he was choosing to get rid of me and why the school should agree. So you fired me before we even got into an actual argument, but since you realized that you misspoke and fired me out of anger, he purposefully tried to push my buttons, and I was stupid and I fell for it, and it worked, you guys. Like I said, this is not my most proud moment. I admit I was wrong for this. And so anyway, after we cleared everything up, they basically told me that they wanted me to work there, and they were letting me know that they were going to get rid of him. So he's the head teacher, you guys. He's been there for several years. I think he'd been there for 5 or 7 years at the time at that particular company. And so I was like, whoa, you guys are going to get rid of him? And so they were claiming that they've had problems with him in the past with other teachers, and that basically he's stubborn and hot-headed. And I was like, yeah, I can see that, because it was night and day. He came off as super, super nice and sweet during the interview process, and even before it, and even after it. And then it was the moment I called off from that first day that I wasn't even expected to attend, you guys. My first day wasn't supposed to have been until, weeks from then. But they asked, hey, maybe we should have her go to the Saturday meeting so that, she'll have time to prepare her curriculum instead of doing it all at home, by herself. And they have an actual outline for the curriculum that's very detailed, but you're supposed to bring in materials, not just that go with it, but that incorporate that. So for example, you have to use the vocabulary that this teacher, the head teacher, that's not a native speaker, chose. You have to use the stuff that he has, given you and make it your own, basically. And I'm okay with doing that, but it's as I was saying, how can I make these things age appropriate for a 4 or 5-year-old where they're actually learning it and not just listening to some random foreigner talk? So it made me really upset, but I was happy. I was like, wow, this is really weird and really crazy. So I was telling my mom and I was telling my boyfriend what's going on. I told some of my friends and they couldn't believe it either. So I left. Oh, we had a secret meeting that day, so he had no idea that we met. They told me to go to that hidden location, so I couldn't go to the main school, and he had no idea that they were meeting there either. So they made it during a time in which he basically wouldn't be around, in which he'd be occupied with the students, so that he couldn't leave and accidentally spy on us or find out that we're there. So again, all the staff pretty much is here, and they're all, seeing the emails, and we're all talking about what happened, and they're all fake siding with me, which, if they were being honest with themselves, they should have been siding with me. But I know how Japan is, so I know that they were just doing it to keep me on board and to hire me, but I know that they were thinking bad of me too, and I don't blame them, because like I said, that was totally unprofessional of me, regardless of how he reacted to me, or regardless of what he said to me that caused me to react that way. But at least they did kind of understand where I was coming from, and so I made sure that I still apologized for everything, but they made it very clear that they were fed up with him. They all pretty much said that, and that they were thinking that he's either going to quit on his own, or if not, they were going to get rid of him in the spring of next year. So it sounded good to me, although I won't lie, I felt kind of weird about it. I was like, I don't really trust this. And so it gets really crazy. So after I leave, we scheduled to basically make plans in which I was going to have to put on a fake puppet show, and instead of me just, starting up working there again, because that teacher was still going to be there, he's the head teacher, they wanted me to apologize to him in front of all of the staff, and they were going to act as though we never had any type of meeting, and as though I personally begged to come back to the school. So they asked me to send a personal email to this teacher again, apologizing, and basically asking if I can have a meeting with that teacher and everyone else. So I was having to go behind this person's back and pretend like I never had that private meeting with all the other staff. And so I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, that took a lot out of me, because I was like, oh my god, I have to pretend like I'm the one in the wrong. And so it's very obvious by his email back in response that he was pissed off because he was like sending really short emails, and so he basically agreed with it by default. So they had me get there earlier than the actual interview time, and while I was on my way walking there, I was expecting to wait outside. I happened to run into the school owner and one of her assistant Japanese teachers, so they gave me a ride to the location, which was nice because it's about a 30-minute walk from the train station. Very long walk, but it's a really nice walk, but it was really hot. So I appreciated that. And so they even like gave me a ride to the convenience store because I told them like I was actually going to go get some water and some deodorant wipes before this all started. So they took me there, they waited on me, and I came back. And once I came back to the school, they basically were talking to me for a while before this all started, and they were basically coaching me and letting me know that they were going to have to tell me off in front of him to make everything look good, to save face for their teacher, because that's their head teacher, he's helped with the curriculum, blah blah blah. And so I understood it, but it's like, okay, so because someone's been there for so long, because they've gained this power, this type of position, you can't correct them, you can't tell them that the way they behave was inappropriate. So he's basically going to get away with it, he's not going to get in trouble. His only punishment is he can't fire me and that he's forced to work with me. And so I also didn't like the fact that they were going behind his back with meeting with me, and that they were going behind his back and planning to fire him. Because it's like, okay, like what's going to stop you from doing this to me? And so the other assistant teacher, who was an American guy, who was also there during the whole interview process, he was supposed to be taking the teacher that fired me, that I didn't like, head teacher's position. And so I'm like, whoa, this is really weird. And so he even admitted, that teacher that got rid of me, the head teacher, had anger issues, and that they didn't enjoy working with him, and that he's caused problems with past teachers. So it sounds like they've lost teachers in the past because of him. And so I thought it was really scary. It's like, okay, so the fact they even gave him that kind of power, and this is why I don't think that foreign staff should do the hiring like by themselves, and why he didn't do it solely by himself. He was clearly had a lot of responsibility, because they gave him an email in which they had no access to. So they were just trusting his word. They had no idea what happened. And in most circumstances, they're not going to go behind your back and try to check and see what really took place. They will take your word, as they should be able to, and move on and just find another teacher. So I got lucky that they even tried to give me a second chance. So as we were talking, and the more they were telling me about how they were going to have to, bring the hammer down on me and be really mean to me and tell me off and tell me about how whatever, just to make him happy, so to speak. And they were telling me how, I wasn't going to have to report to him. And they wanted me so bad, you guys. They asked me if I'd be willing to work there 6 months from now, when he was supposed to have left, basically. Or really more than 6 months. But you get what it wasn't 6 months. I think it was about 6 or 5 months. But they wanted me to be a teacher there that bad. And so something just didn't sit right with me, you guys. And so I walked out literally about 30 minutes or so before we were supposed to have had the meeting. And, they tried to beg me to stay, and they were asking if it was something that they said. And I was like, no, not really. It's just, I thought about it more, and this just doesn't seem like a good environment. You have a crazy head teacher. It's going to be hostile because not all of the staff, as well as some of the teachers that I hadn't even met yet, they know about what happened. They know about me getting fired and hired and all the weird stuff. They know about his feelings towards me, and now they think I'm a liar. And so I even had to explain to them, like, I know I look fine, but I legitimately had fractured my back, and I don't think anybody believed me, because even my private students didn't when I had to cancel with them or arrive late, as they even expressed to me, like, jokingly. And it's like, no, like, I really did. So it was just really, really bad, you guys. Like, I wish I could go back in time and had done that a lot better, because I shouldn't have, called him out, for I essentially called him unqualified because he was a non-native speaker. And I was telling him that I'm, basically better than him. Because, like, look, dude, like, I know that you feel threatened or whatever because I'm American, I have this degree, blah, blah, blah. But I ain't trying to take your little position. I'm just telling you that I can't figure out how to make a curriculum out of it. And I'm just talking to you, so there's no reason for you to get offended or feel like I'm coming at you. If that were the case, and I even said this to the staff when we had our meeting without him, I would have gone directly to the school's owner or principal and tell them how many flaws are in their curriculum. But I went to you personally, and I didn't even call out, what was wrong with it or call them flaws. I simply said it seemed too hard for 5-year-olds, and yet he got mad and fired me over it. And I find it to be really funny because apparently he had so much pride, you guys, that I guess he thought he was going to be able to find another teacher because he went right back to posting ads again, and apparently it didn't work out for them. And the school's probably upset with him because now, because of that and because I walked out, they didn't have a teacher, because the meeting that we had was supposed to have been basically the next business day, the next Monday, because the meeting that we had was on Friday, in which I was supposed to meet with all of the teachers once again. Their teacher was supposed to start on Monday, and that teacher was supposed to be me, and I basically backed out of it at the last minute. So there's no way that they had a teacher for that day. So the head teacher that hated me so much this day is over with, but I'm pretty sure that he had to teach that class until they finally got a new teacher. So that was super unprofessional of me in that regards too. I should have at least stuck with it for at least 30 or 60 days because I did agree to the job and I did sign a contract, but it didn't rub me well. I didn't like, you know, other aspects too, because as we talked more, my pay was going to be low. They weren't guaranteeing visa renewal for me, and there was just so much weird stuff going on where it's like, you know what, I don't trust this. I don't trust the school. I don't trust anything that they're saying, because if they're willing to turn their back on the person that made their curriculum, has been there 5 to 7 years, however long, even although he deserves it because he's a jerk, but you know, if they're willing to do that to him, what will they do to me? And I didn't want to be in that type of position, and I also don't want to purposefully work with people who I know think bad of me, who I know don't like me. So it was so embarrassing, it was so bad, and I wish I could go back in time and had done things the right way, because both job situations were very unprofessional. I should have went through with the interview. I should have worked there at least for a little while. I probably would have liked the job at the end of the day, but the salary was so low, you guys, that I don't think it would have been worth it. And they didn't care about my qualifications, credentials, nothing. They had a set salary for their teachers, and they don't go above it, and that's that. And they agreed with my opinion on the curriculum, but they ultimately, you know, they agreed in the Japanese way. So the Japanese assistants 100% agreed with me, and they were like, yeah, like, we noticed the students, you know, English skills don't improve from year to year. And I was like, thank you. I could tell you that just by looking at the curriculum, that it makes no sense. But the, you know, school's principal, she was like, well, yeah, but, you know, we're trying to provide an English environment, and, you know, the kids, you know, they can tell their parents that they want to be a firefighter, police officer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Having fun playing dress up with toys isn't learning English. This is playtime. They have no idea what you were talking about. They're enjoying the fact that they have costumes and toys. So she didn't want to hear me out. She was trying to pretend like she was listening, but it was very obvious that she was like, well, that sounds nice, but let's just stick with the way we've always done it. And she even said that. She was like, you know, we've been using this curriculum for years and years. It's been just fine. And so, like, the Japanese staff had to even chime in. They were like, well, actually, you know, I even noticed the students' English doesn't improve, you know, from the next year. They are still at the same level, or, you know, if not lower. And I was like, thank you. I could tell you that. You can't just speak nonsense words, give no definitions, not explain stuff to little kids. They're not going to understand what's going on. This work is too advanced for them. So that's that, you guys. It was really, really bad, really, really crazy. So the teacher, you know, he hired me. Then he fired me for questioning the curriculum's difficulty level. Then I got rehired from the actual principal and, you know, the assistant Japanese teacher. And then I quit on my own because, like, you know what? I ain't finna go through this crap. I don't trust you guys. You can't take critique, even although you stress the fact that you want us to share our opinions and to work together as a team and to not be sensitive. It literally says this stuff, you guys. It's not where I'm reading in between the lines. It literally says this. So, and I even mentioned that to them, and they laughed at it, and they were making fun of, you know, that, I'm gonna say this name, that teacher again. So, anyway, long story short, we all make, you know, mistakes in the professional world. I'm not a perfect teacher. I'm not a perfect person. I had to learn to make it where I am now. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm not proud of everything that I've done since being here in Japan. I'm not proud of every place that, you know, I've worked at. I've made a lot of major mistakes, a lot of minor mistakes. I've let my stress, anxiety, my anger get the best of me at work. And I really wish I could go back in time and change some of the things that I've done. And these were definitely 2 of them. So that's that. I know I left out a lot of details, but this video is way too long, so I'm going to end it here. That's my crazy story about, you know, my weirdest jobs that I had to turn down and walk away from here in Japan. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. if you have not already, and I would really appreciate it if you would follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. I also have a Snapchat and a Facebook page. If I don't insert the pictures in this video, which I'm probably going to, I think I'll also probably post them on my Facebook page so you can check them out there indefinitely, so you can see what I'm talking about. For obvious reasons, I will X out names and companies, etc., because I don't want to share more than what's necessary. But it's really, really crazy, you guys. The school has really, really bad reviews. There's accusations of sexual assault, physical abuse, and the staff is, you know, they're dirty. They're backstabbers, they're liars, and they're cocky, conceited, and full of themselves. So I don't think anybody should really work there. You know, the Japanese staff did seem really nice overall, but after I saw what they were willing to do to their head teacher, while he did deserve it and I wanted to be happy about it, I couldn't, because I was like, what if this happens to me though? So I didn't like that, and I feel like I dodged a bullet. Maybe they feel the same way too. I hope it all worked out for them, but don't be like me, you guys. Don't leave a school hanging, no matter what they do. Always try to be professional, leave on good terms, and wait until there's a replacement for you. Do not make my mistakes. If you make it that far, schedule an interview. Unless something seems legitimately wrong, go ahead and go through with it. Don't worry about, you know, another teacher seeming funky or the interviewer not seeming really nice. If nothing else, it's work experience, it's a learning experience, and life goes on from there. So once again, I'm not perfect. I'm still human, you guys. I make mistakes. I'm not proud of this. I'm simply sharing my story. So thank you so much for watching. Once again, please like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, and please like my Facebook page as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will watch another video. Goodbye.